name is Hallie and welcome to the royalty. I might be cancelled on YouTube. No, might be cancelled on Twitter, but I'm here on YouTube. How are we doing? Also, there is a thing that I need to do. And I need to recognize, because it's very, very kind of them. And I realized I was yelling. It's because my thing was so loud. But I just realized.
Sorry, Hal, but I won't be watching the stream live tonight. Consider this consolation. Nobody better be giving you bad law when I listen back to this tomorrow.
I'm gonna play it again because I fucked up. There it is! Stun!
Sorry, Hal, but I won't be watching the stream live tonight. Consider this consolation. Nobody better be giving you bad law when I listen back to this tomorrow. I hope no one's giving me bad law. Thank you so much, Sternly, for the $5 donation. It really does make a huge difference. I appreciate it so much. And I hope the stream's working because it stopped working on my end. Damn. But hello! I'm here! I made it. We're gonna be learning about Alpharius because I owe you guys some Alpharius. So let's start with that. I owe you guys some Alpharius. You getting some Alpharius? Are we ready? I was only 15 minutes in. I've got so much left to learn. Yo, Nosferatu! How we doing? I hope good. I hope good. I'm sorry that I got cancelled on Twitter in the middle of the last stream. That's my bad. But I'm here to do Alpharius. I owe you guys Alpharius. I'm excited to learn about him. So, yes. I just realised I got the wrong video up.
Welcome back to...
No! So this video we're starting with. A wild live stream has entered the battle? Sternly. I've shown it twice. I'm going to show it a third time because you're here.
Girl, get in the fucking van.
Sorry, Hal, but I won't be watching the stream live tonight. Consider this consolation. Nobody better be giving you bad law when I listen back to this tomorrow.
Exactly. Thank you, Stanley. Thank you so much for the $5. It really means a difference. And hey, Dan! First thing I want to do, as always, is big thank you to my royal patrons, my tier 2 supporter Izzo, and my tier 1 supporters Hansel Panda, Suki SJ, Sternly, Dan Cohen, Chaos315, and Matt Ben. You guys allow me to make content sponsor free. Hey! And don't worry, Dan, you don't need to comment. You're appreciated just for being here. Let's finally learn about Alpharius. Come on. How did I press the wrong button?
My name.
For some reason, I couldn't change the currency. I don't know how that works, honestly. But it was incredibly appreciated. And your name is now at the top of the stream, right there. You see your name? Your name is there for everyone to see.
My name is a tool, nothing more. An identifier. The records will call us dishonorable, traitors to the Imperium. But all records lie.
And because we were interrupted, I'm going to be watching this from the beginning. We only watched 15 minutes anyway, but I was distracted by being cancelled on Twitter, so like, let's start again.
I am the Hydra, the threefold serpent. I am Alpharius.
I am Alpharius. Let's go.
Victory matters.
Yes,
Everything else is just delusion. With victory, we can build dreams. But without victory, they remain just dreams. Peace. Peace is the hardest thing to achieve. Military victory and the disarmament of our enemies can be...
I know, right? No spoilies so far. I'm joking. And we can overwrite the guy in chat jumping the gun and spoiler stuff. No spoilies here. Hey, work! Tell me how to work.
Achieved through strength of arms, but peace is an altogether different beast. Its fragility cannot be maintained by those who are good people. Niccolo
cool.
Machiavelli tells us that a good leader should have what he coined as criminal virtue: wisdom, strategy, strength, bravery, and ruthlessness.
Only
Surgical and
passion!
infrequent cruelty is the uncomfortable truth of peace. For all of us who get to bask in the light of peace, there
He's got such a weird smile. Look at his smile. He's like... He looks like he's gonna come into your house and serial kill you and then blame you for not having the doors locked.
are those who have to operate within its shadows. There are people who have to make those ethical trade-offs in the defense of their home, kingdom, or imperium. I think to myself, am I capable of committing evil in defense of something? Would
Yes.
I make the hard decisions expected of a soldier in the shadows? It
Yes.
is deception, subterfuge, assassination, and lies.
Definitely one of history's creeps. Honestly though, right? Machiavelli.
That are found in the arsenal of the Imperium's soldiers of shadow, Primarchs of the Alpha Legion, Alpharius and Omegon. Two parts of a joint facade that is presented to the galaxy.
Oh, can I just state, by the way, I scheduled this stream half an hour in advance to see how that would affect things, because that's one of the other things that I wanted to test. Sternly, Wolfbane, and Danny were here, like, ages before this stream started. Ages. It was wild.
A single Primarch, Alpharius Omegon, the face of the 20th Legiones Astartes. In the 40th millennium, the Primarch of the Alpha Legion is seen as a betrayer, a dishonourable combatant, a figure that has been confirmed dead numerous
Yes.
times, but all records lie. So what is the truth? What
No
is the
truth.
journey that has shaped this outcome? What has made these Primarchs who they are? What made them choose the path of perceived betrayal?
There's no
It begins
truth.
deep below the Himalayan mountains upon Terra, near the end of the 30th millennium. Foul entities of the warp burst into the gene labs of the Emperor of Mankind's most inner sanctums and stole away 20 capsules. One of these capsules raced through the wall, claws scratching upon the glass, trying to get in. It was this capsule that emerged back into the material universe and began to fall, like a comet engulfed in flames.
Well, this is the thing, Stanley. I was wondering whether it was the fact that I wasn't giving people enough warning, or whether it was the fact that my streams were too early, because a lot of people were coming in the middle and being like, damn, I've missed a load. So, like, I'm gonna test both out. One of the best Primarch stories, work, I've been so excited. Y'all talk about Alpharius all the time. I shout I am Alpharius all the time. I need to know more about this guy. And this, I was told by a very special source from the chat, Sternly, and that this was the best video on it, which is why it's going first.
The capsule crashed high up on a snow-peaked mountain. It was from the wreckage that a large boy emerged, opening his eyes for the first time. Where was he? What had happened? Who am I? I am Alpharius. It was like the name was emblazed across his soul. As the boy spoke for the first time, he said his name, but it was no momentous moment.
You know what's really funny? My first ever word as a child was my own name. Does that mean I am Alpharius? Maybe I become Alpharius. I'm just saying. I say my own name. But, like, no word of a lie, I said my own name and then didn't speak for, like, a year. And, like, confused the heck out of everyone. But honestly, I'm not, like, no joke, I confused the heck out of everyone when I was a kid, because my first ever word was my own name and then I shut up for a year. Never said another word. And then, like, a year later, I started talking like it was nothing. And they were like, did you just have nothing to say? And honestly, I think I established myself in the universe and then I dipped. Just for a year.
Even amongst the confusion of experiencing his senses for the first time, he knew the truth about his name. My name is a tool, nothing more. An identifier, a starting baseline, to be used when convenient and discarded when not. It was as if his very nature was imprinted within him. He began to rationalize and understand his environment to a level and speed that was superhuman. As the boy used his eyes for the very first time, he looked into the night sky and the smouldering wreckage that was his gestation capsule. He was alone, but not for long. As the sound of distant rumbling rose, something was coming towards him. He was young and small, and concluded hiding was his best course.
Yeah.
Figures came forward covered in thermal and rebreather equipment to examine the wreckage. The conditions on the mountains were a freezing low oxygen environment, yet somehow the boy was fine. Scavengers, come to examine the wreckage, were prowling until a golden ship descended from the sky, and a glowing figure clad in ornate, beautiful armor leapt.
This is all a lie, Liam! And also, a lot of this is very new lore. I'm on cutting edge. I'm on the cutting edge of Warhammer lore. This means I am a genius.
From the ship and landed amongst the smoking wreckage. The boy felt a wave of power wash over him. The presence of this figure filled a void within him. He felt an undying obedience to him. The figure told the boy to come out, and as the boy stepped over the corpses of the scavengers, he stood and looked up upon his father.
Can I just say, they didn't need to this is extra. I know I said this last time, but this is still so extra.
The Emperor of Mankind, as did the Emperor
little
look
cake.
back at his first found son. I remember the first time Malkador let himself into my quarters. We stared at each other for some time, as I was weighing him up, and he, I am sure, was doing the same. I concluded he intended me no harm,
That's cool.
but I could feel the power within him. It was tightly shrouded, unlike in my father, but there nonetheless. Had I been required to kill him, I was not, at the time, certain how I would have gone about it.
I am here to teach.
Can I just say how his first thought is, if I was supposed to kill this dude, I don't know how I'd do it. Like, why is your first thought, what am I going to do if right now I need to kill this dude? Like, that's really how 40k be. A guy enters your bedroom and you're like, damn, is it killing time? Guess we're going to know in 5 minutes.
Teach you.
He said at last. I nodded, to signify my understanding and acceptance.
What are you to teach me?
What do you think you should be taught?
He replied, and those dark, sharp eyes of his were on me like a predator, watching a prey animal to see in which direction it was going to flee. This was a test.
I am to watch and learn.
I replied. It had not been long since I had been found, but I was already growing in both body and mind. There were some texts available in my quarters, and I now had a great understanding of my context and of the world outside. They had mainly
I get to learn about chess again.
brought home to me how very unusual I was.
I am to watch and understand.
You are to watch, and to understand, and to act.
Malkador corrected me.
Oh.
You are the secret of secrets, but you are no use if you do not act.
He walked to a desk on which were arrayed playing pieces and sat down with exhalation.
The Emperor has revealed himself to the world because he must. He is visible. I am visible. Constantine Valdor is visible.
He
Visible.
cocked his head and regarded me with a little humor.
Valdor does not yet know about you. See how long you can keep it that way. You may treat that as a test.
I nodded. I had already learned of
Theo?
Constantine Valdor and the Legio Custodes, thanks to the information I had available. I strongly suspected there was far more to learn.
You are not visible. You are.
John Cena. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun.
Could be the secret shield, the sword in the darkness, the weapon our enemies do not expect because their focus will be on us. You will do what you must to preserve what we have built, even without instruction, even if
He trailed off and sighed.
this was not intended to be your destiny. But it is the hand that fate has dealt you, has dealt us all, in fact.
I was intrigued as to what my intended destiny had been, but I kept my silence. If Malkador did not elaborate, I could return to the subject and ask him, and then he might answer, and he might not. If he kept talking, he might give me information I would not have thought to ask about. He tapped the board instead.
Come, sit opposite me. I'm presuming you have already familiarized yourself with the rules of this game.
I did as he asked.
I have. It is called regicide.
Simple to learn. very difficult to master.
Malkador replied. We were within a meter of each other now, and I could smell his breath, which was as sharp as his eyes.
Or at least, that is how it is for most people. I suspect it will be a different matter for you. Let us find out.
He was to watch, and to understand, and to act. He was to be the secret shield, the sword in the darkness, the weapon their enemies do not expect, because their focus will be on those who are visible.
Please do fill out the poll.
Alpharius will do what he must to preserve what the Emperor has built, even without instruction. Only a handful of the upper echelon in the Imperium knew that one of the Primarchs, the Emperor's sons, had been found on Terra. No one else could know, not yet, for it was far more valuable to keep this weapon a secret, especially from the architect of the Primarch scattering. The Emperor was overjoyed to have one of his sons. He was afraid that all of them had been lost, but the survival of Alpharius was hope that the others were alive. The Emperor knew what Alpharius had to be, and so his early tutoring came from Malkador the Sigillite, one of the few trusted with the knowledge of his existence.
Malkador's dead now. Rip.
It was not in body, but in mind that the Sigillite began to train the young Primarch, teaching him
How did I know, Dan, that you would vote for the Space Sharks?
to mask his thoughts from even an incredibly powerful psyker such as Malkador. It was with the Sigillite that Alpharius began to develop a skill unique to him. Alpharius learned not to be invisible, but to completely mask his presence. For us, a regular human to be in the presence of a Primarch conjures feelings of innate majesty and wonder. Loyalty similar to how the presence of the Emperor feels akin to seeing a god. But Alpharius learned to mask it. He
Old Dusty? Liam, vote the poll.
could change the way people perceived him. As such, he could look like a regular human, while still being a demigod-sized Primarch. The way this ability must have affected him must have been profound. Unlike his brothers, who could never quite live a normal life, Alpharius knew how it felt to be a normal person. He began to master this gift, becoming the sword in the darkness. Infiltration, subterfuge, and deception were taught to the young Primarch, and he learned with frightening speed.
Let's go.
Whilst many of his brothers would despise being seen as a tool, this never bothered Alpharius. He knew what he was, how he had to operate. The Emperor was building a unified Imperium that would unite humanity, and he was a tool to bring that future and protect it. He was the Imperium's greatest secret, but by far not the only one. It was during the latter part of the 30th millennium that Alpharius was shown one of these closely guarded projects of the Emperor. Using his ability, Alpharius masked his presence and strode to the constructing Imperial Palace with his father, all the way down to the gene laboratories. It was there for the first time he saw the Legiones Astartes, sons to him, like how he was a son to the Emperor. They were the next generation for the Imperium's elite warriors.
I'm going Sharks just to get it out of the way. To be fair, it does keep like fighting with Fulgrim in the polls, so I'm not surprised. It's a good strategy.
And the 20th Legion were the luckiest of all, as they had a Primarch. Alpharius was there from the beginning, there to mold the Legion as he saw fit. The earliest known activities of the Legion saw it conduct abductions, targeted strikes, and assassinations to the Imperium's enemies on Terra. They, like their Primarch, were a secret too, a small elite force that often disguised themselves as other legions. In fact, Alpharius and the first of the 20th Legion were there when it came time to cleanse the Imperium of the Thunder Warriors, disguised as the First Legion. Alpharius has spent decades within the Imperium's shadows, weaved amongst disguises, infiltration, and lies as part of his training.
I said this yesterday, Stern. Like, Emp finds his first son, and he's like, "Meh, Malkador, you wanna deal with this? You know, surely you're better at this. Like, He doesn't know how to raise kids. He's a bad dad.
But that era had come to an end, as with all the preparations met, the Emperor launched the Great Crusade. Criminal virtue, wisdom, strategy, strength, bravery, and ruthlessness. Niccolo Machiavelli's criteria for a good leader coincides with what can also be a perfect soldier. With Alpharius' decades on Terra, he was trained ruthlessly to become the greatest Black Ops agent within the Imperium. Through his time honing his skills at deception amongst the populace of Terra, it also gave him sympathy for common people, though at times he had to be ruthless too, even if he took no pleasure from it.
Gives me big Goku, Piccolo, Gohan energy, like for real though, right?
During his time on Terra, he sought to expose a weakness within the defense of the Imperial Palace. With a combination of manipulation, disguises, and ingenuity, he managed to infiltrate the defenses, only to be caught by a custodian guard, who he killed, and took his armor as a disguise.
I love that, because he justifies this by going like, I was just trying to prove your defenses were shit. So I didn't really kill one of your guards. I did you a favor because this guard was too weak.
Justified it to himself too, as it was in the name of something greater, the defense of the Imperium and the Emperor. Managing to sneak his way through, Alpharius took position overlooking the Emperor's landing pad, only to be at the last second caught by Malcador and then attacked by Constantine Valdor. A brief duel took place until the Sigillite stopped it. Wearing the armor of one of his murdered soldiers must have been a strenuous first encounter between the two demigod figures. Yeah. Alpharius, placing an override on a gun turret, had showed that he had outwitted the defense of Terra, and it needed shoring up. Though Alpharius had made his point, it just shows how far he was willing to go in the name of his duty.
For real though.
It was in a way for the greater good. It was this ideology that the Primarch took to the stars during the Great Crusade. As the forces of the Imperium spread out, it would be Alpharius who was tasked with investigating for the Emperor rumors of individuals who surpassed human. It was Alpharius who, even before the Emperor came to find the others, the Primarchs who were spread across the stars.
I love how the end is like, yo, all my kids are missing. I'm gonna send the brother. You know what? He could do this. He good. Yeah, Malcador trained him. He fine.
It was on the world of Chthoniya that he found a brother, Horus Lupercal, but he did not embrace him, nor accept him, as it was his nature to distrust and observe. Using his gift, Alpharius observed his brother to see what he had become, and to evaluate him, for that was his role. Horus was the second Primarch found, but he could become a rallying point, a spark of hope, someone to be visible, something Alpharius could never be. Perhaps he may have wanted to just let down the facade and embrace his brother, as to finally have an equal, someone to understand him is something we all desire. But he is Alpharius, the shadow to the Imperium's light. In fact, Alpharius may have felt this desire to unshackle himself many times, as he was there for when most of his brothers were found, often disguising himself as a member of the other legions. He witnessed how many of his brothers saw the Emperor for the first time, seeing how, like him, they felt something fill a void within their heart. But for Alpharius, he was different. Where many had felt complete, he felt this gnawing feeling within. He felt like something was missing, like a part of him was lost. He felt incomplete. Alpharius felt like he was one half of a whole. He could sense something else. Someone else.
A brother's reunion. You know what? Alpharius' lore has been the most interesting so far. This video is really good, and I wish there was more videos like this on all of them, because I would watch the shit out of those.
A gestation capsule roared through the warp, clawed at by creatures made of pure thought. It burst into the material universe, and in a blaze of fire it crashed upon a world. Amongst the burning wreckage, a boy crawled out, having survived something that should have killed any mortal man. The boy was not a helpless child. and started to rationalize his surroundings in a way that would astound us. Where was he? What had happened? Where had I come from? There was only one thing he knew for certain. I am Omegon. The inbuilt genius of his mind let him discern that the inherent skills and knowledge he was born with was no accident. Someone had placed them there. As the boy looked around, he saw only emptiness. He was alone. As the boy grew, he scoured around the surface of the planet
The thing that interests me is how the Primarchs were each made to fill a certain role. Malkador made him the spy, but said that wasn't his intended purpose. His skills were honed for that. Like, I don't know what else his role could have been. Personally. Wasn't the only Primarch whose original fate ended up different. Oh yeah, because also Fulgrim and everyone else who turned to chaos. Yo, Wolfade! I'm doing a lot better now y'all are here. I said I might be cancelled on Twitter, but I'm here on YouTube, and that's pretty much the only place I care to be.
he crashed onto, only to find no one. Only the ruins of a civilization. Even for a Primarch, growing up in isolation must have affected him.
Also, I hope you're well. I hope you're all well.
As it would us. Conrad Kurz and Lionel Johnson similarly spent their early years without normal human contact, which also had its consequences. The boy grew, scouring through the remnants of the world's dead civilization, finding a strange-looking Xenos spear and a Baroque scaled set of armor. As the boy grew to a man, he thought more upon his hypothesis that he was in some way created.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that about Angron. That's why he had like such a good emotional energy, but then the spikes in his brain made him go. Yeah.
It always felt like something was missing, like he was one part of a whole, like something out there would complete him. Perhaps this was his creator, the one who had imprinted all this knowledge and physical prowess.
Yes.
He looked to the stars, and he knew he would find the truth out there. It is perhaps the greatest secret amongst all of the Imperium, the truth of the Primarch of the 20th Legion. Something had happened during the scattering of the Primarchs that no other had experienced. The 20th Legion had two Primarchs, twins, Alpharius and Omegon, two halves.
Wolfbane, thank you. I just deleted my Twitter. I started a new one to make sure no one takes my name and says weird shit on the internet. But like, Twitter's fucking bullshit. Only Primarch on to not conquer his planet says, what? To be fair, if you're on a planet with no one, how can you conquer it? For the memes, I guess. For the memes. It's true. It's true. Yes, but Fulgrim too. Apparently he was supposed to land on a different planet first, but he swapped with Khan by the Eldar Laughing God. That's funny. That's funny. I love the Laughing God. That's one thing I want to look into more. A lot of the Harlequins don't make any Harlequin jokes, but like, yeah, I really do want to look into those. And you know what, Wolfbane? That means a lot. Thank you. You guys are the only reason I continue doing content creation. I sat there thinking about giving up and doing all sorts, and then I thought, yo, we haven't even learned about Alpharius yet. And that's why I came today, because we didn't even learn about Alpharius yet. I can't quit. Not with you guys. Have you conquered the planet by default? Did you cause... Right. Did you some way terraform the planet? Or was the planet already completely terraformed and you just survived on it? Because if you just survived on it, you haven't conquered it. But if you in any way terraformed it, then you have. Does that make sense? So if you've adapted it for your purposes. I appreciate having you here with me! Like, I can't stop smiling. You guys have made me really happy today. Conrad didn't really conquer his planet, he just scared people to death doing what he wanted. You know what, though? Being a lone vigilante who does whatever the fuck he wants kind of does conquer his planet, let's be honest. What are they going to do? Stop you?
of one whole. The incredibly tumultuous energies of the warp had split the Primarch of the Alpha Legion into two.
Damn.
It was this hollow feeling that Alpharius had felt all his life. Though both of them were extremely practical, rational, and even somewhat emotionless, they were still human, a refined pinnacle, but still men. Alpharius, having landed on Terra, had experienced the Emperor and his presence, and the wonder it filled him with, but still there was that sense of being incomplete. Alpharius determined that he had a brother out there, one who would...
I haven't covered so much. If I was to quit, I would still be learning lore, so I may as well stay on YouTube, because fuck people. Conrad did make himself king of the planet. He also channeled enforcing the law personally. Yes.
was closer to him than any other. The years of the Great Crusade progressed. Alpharius and his elite Alpha Legion had gone from a small elite force to a Ghost Legion, a unit that lived within the shadows. They had had their Primarch from the very beginning, and he had molded them into an extremely effective fighting force. The warriors acted and spoke with an independence unheard of amongst the Adeptus Astartes, for if one were to cut off the head of the Legion, it still needed to operate and function. The Alpha Legion had spent decades as an advanced force, carving forward the path for other Legions' victories, but they had
Hey Ricky, welcome in.
become tired of this. Even Alpharius was not without some ego. He wanted to bring his Legion into the light, to reward them for all of their accomplishments. All 19 Primarchs had been found over the decades of the Great Crusade, none who Alpharius was searching for, until the rumours came of a superhuman warrior who had been seen on a world invaded by the horrifying Slaw.
Hydra metaphor, nice. Yes, nice. As soon as Conrad left the planet, everyone started committing crime, like literally though. He was clearly doing something right.
Alpharius and an elite squad infiltrated the world infested by the brain-devouring Xenos. One by one they were picked off, each Marine sacrificing themselves for their Primarch, until on the brink of being overwhelmed, a warrior in Baroque scaled armour barreled in. The two demigod figures fought side by side, leaving no foul Xenos alive.
Yeah. Fuck you, Xenos.
I approached cautiously. The enemy of my enemy is not necessarily my friend, and there are any amount of creatures in the galaxy who exist in a mockery of humanity's form. It was possible that my apparent new ally was not human at all. In fact, I suspect that was not the case, but then again, nor was I.
Thank you for your aid,
I said as I reached them. The armor's helmet, a Baroque visor, crested with rearing serpents, turned towards me, but although they still held their strange spear, they did not raise it towards me.
And you for yours,
they replied.
I need to learn more about Xenos. I don't know enough about Xenos to comment, really. I just make fun of Xenos.
Their voice was as deep as my own, and curiously unaccented.
I have not yet met a warrior who can slay even one of these fiends' constructs by himself, let alone 4. Truly, the Legiones Astartes are even mightier than this world's legends give them credit for.
Yeah.
You know of the Astartes?
I asked.
By reputation only.
The figure reached up and removed its helm, and I found myself looking into a mirror.
I am Omegon.
I had never felt such joy, no victory, no celebration. No praise from my father had ever sparked within me the same rush of euphoria I experienced in that moment.
Aww.
Finally, after decades of searching, of yearning for something I only partly understood, I had it in front of me.
Well met, brother,
I said.
Here's a bit of lore that Alpharius met Corvus, and when they met, they had a bet on who would assassinate who and had a war game between the Alpha Legion and the Raven Guard. Guess who won? Was it the Raven Guard? Also got some her love. You know what? Good work, brother. Sounds like something Dorian would say to me. He calls me brother.
Disengaging the seal on my gorget and lifting my own helmet from my head.
I am Alpharius. I could feel your existence, of course,
Omegon said to me. We were in the control room in the bowels of the power station in which he had been hiding, and from whence he would venture out to search for supplies and kill any slaw he encountered.
I had always assumed it was the soul of the one who made me, but now I see my error. You knew you were created?
I asked. I studied his face. It was such a strange sensation. After being surrounded by my own gene sons who had embraced surgical alterations to resemble me, to see a face not my own that mirrored mine exactly.
I possessed a high level of innate deductive reasoning.
My twin replied.
Sufficient to realize that the ruined device from which I'd crawled seemed an unlikely method of natural gestation.
I laughed.
Seemed like an unnatural gestation, yeah, like coming out of a tomb is how we all did it, bro.
What world was this on? I do not know its name.
Omegon said, slightly wistfully.
It had been settled once, but the civilization had died. Despite my best efforts, I was unable to determine how
So
or
do
even
I.
what they called themselves. I was the only sapient being on the entire planet, so far as I could tell. It wasn't until pirates landed looking to pick the ruins that I was able to take to the stars and escape it. Did the pirates not tell you its classification?
I asked.
The Raven Guard did win, but just barely because the Alpha Legion subdued half the guards and started looking like the Raven Guard. That's fucking hilarious, and that's such an Alpha Legion thing to do, which is why they're Alpha.
Omegon glanced at his weapon, which he called the Saracenat.
They ain't Beta Legion.
They were not in the mood for conversation, or for passengers, so I never got the opportunity to ask.
I nodded in understanding.
I was able to make short warp jumps using the ship's navigation charts and slowly began to find my way towards systems inhabited by humans.
Omegon continued.
I heard rumors of the Imperium and the Emperor. Given the stories about him, I felt certain he would have been the one who created me.
He was! You got it right, Omegon! Let's go! You get a gold star! I'm a dick sometimes, it's okay.
I had never felt such joy, no victory, no celebration, no praise from my father had ever sparked within me the same rush of euphoria I experienced in that moment. Finally, after decades of searching, of yearning for something I only partly understood, I had it in front of me. The twins were reunited. The Alpha Legion had the three heads of the Hydra, Alpharius, Omegon, and the Legion. Alpharius was elated to be reunited with his brother, the other half of his soul. He had spent over 8 hours telling him everything about his life. And
Question. If they both die, do they come back as a single person? I want the answer to this, please. Theorists, proceed. I'm so bad at pressing buttons.
and his gifts. They shared so much more than just aesthetics. A brilliant calculating mind, an adept understanding of subterfuge, manipulation and espionage. But something unnerved them. The Emperor of Mankind spoke of 20 sons, yet here they were, 21.
How did
the
he do it?
Emperor keep Omegon a secret just as Alpharius was a secret to his brothers? Or perhaps, as Omegon proposed, they were two beings and one soul per se. Perhaps their time in the Immaterium had split one into two. Perhaps the Emperor does not even know the galaxy-shaking secret. The last Primarch had been found, and though both of the twins were superhuman experts in being in the shadow to the Imperium's light, they are still
You're probably right, Ricky, but I'm disappointed.
human, and not without a little human ego.
And also, what did he do? What did Corvus do? I need to know. Corax is my man.
They were unsatisfied with the 20th Legion forever being unrecognized in their sacrifice. It was time to bring the 20th Legion and its Primarch into the forefront of the Great Crusade.
Yo, right. Imagine this. Okay, so there's two of them, right? What if one of them goes public with the Legion and the other one still holds the underground society? Big brain. That's funny. Oh. Ah, okay. That's cool. That's cool. I like that. I was asking about that the other day. I was like, I'm sure Corvus can go invisible as well. He can just choose not to be seen. No way! I fucking knew it! That's the best way to do it! That's the best way to do it. Keep one as an underground society. You got twins! You got twins!
It had to be done right, as to maintain the secrets of the Legion's pre-Crusade history and knowledge of the nature of the twin Primarchs, for this secret could be extremely useful. The Primarch of the Alpha Legion would become Alpharius Omegon, a facade, just as how the Emperor, Malcador and Constantine Valda were visible. The character of Alpharius Omegon would be too, a careful act to be played by both of them and their Legion, a figure who could be everywhere, a symbol for the 20th Legion, but who would play the role? Spending over a century in anonymity in the Imperium, seeing its rise from the start, Alpharius knew all of his brothers, though he was a master of manipulation and possessed his gift of masking his presence. The scrutiny of a Primarch may see through this over time. Alpharius had even noted the times he stood before Lionel Johnson and had felt his keen eyes. It was to be Omegon, the man who had grown up in isolation who would become the face of the Legion. His reaction would be genuine. The twin Primarchs enacted the next greatest secret of the Imperium, a secret they kept even from their own Legion. They traded places. Alpharius discarded his name, for it was only a starting point, a tool, and he became Omegon, and Omegon became Alpharius.
Nice.
A lie that even their own sons believed. Omegon set up a deceptive ambush. Masquerading as a ragtag pirate fleet, he infiltrated the flagship of his brother, Horus Lupercal. Playing his part well, he stormed the bridge and fought with a skill only capable of a Primarch. Horus screamed at the intruder. He was elated because he had found a brother, for who else could it be? Gripped by the charisma of Horus, Omegon removed his Baroque helm, genuinely awestruck by his presence, and uttered the lie, "I am Alpharius."
Is that where it comes from? No way!
The last Primarch had been found in the Imperium's eyes. The 20th Legion came into the light and set out to join the Great Crusade as a fully fledged Legion.
We did not need to kill them.
That is true. We could have waited for you to grind your way through their troops, step by tedious step.
A false flag indeed.
The future cannot be won by a war waged in shadows.
It will not be won any other way.
Then that future will be dead before it can begin.
Do not moralize at me, brother.
Spat Alpharius, and now it was his turn
But that's not even Alpharius, that's
to
Omegon!
flick from control to anger.
Would the deaths of all those that you would have killed been acceptable because they died in open battle?
Yes.
Said Dawn. Alpharius held Dawn's gaze.
I think we see the universe very differently, Rogel.
No. I do not think we see the same universe at all.
Shut
They
up,
looked
Dawn.
at each other,
Small.
both of their faces set, so similar for all their differences.
The end matters.
Said Alpharius at last.
Victory matters. Everything else is just a delusion.
Yeah.
With victory, we can build dreams. But without victory, they remain just dreams.
Sorry, Stanley. Rogel Snorn is still my thing, though.
And how would you salvage a dream from your victory, here and now on this world? We cannot trust the world prince to rule for us, and you have removed those who could have taken his place. Even a defeated people prefer rule on their own. You have won this battle, but you have done it by seeding the ground with resentment and bitterness.
Thank you.
Some would call what I did gentle, compared to the ways of our other brothers. Kurz, Mortarion, Angron, even the Khan and fetid Horus. Would you call what they would have done preferable?
They?
began Dawn,
You are certain that you are right.
said
Yeah.
Alpharius.
But if you disdain me, then why not my maker? Why not our father?
Dawn shook his head and began to turn towards the door. Alchemus moved with him. He could feel the pressure of his lord's anger, aching through the air like cold.
Sorry. So for a fun fact, I can't click. So anytime I do that, I'm like pretending to click. So just do the sound for me. If you ever see me do that, like just do the sound.
From a glacier. Dawn stopped at the doors and turned back.
Your initial strikes
Yeah.
were misdirected.
He said to Alpharius.
You infiltrated one hive and made it fall by a systematic destabilizing of authority. But you should have waited.
Yo, Mateo! It's refreshing to have a different Primarch be called silly nicknames. Thank you, Dan. Rogel Snorn is here to stay.
You could have used it as a node from which to disperse your human operatives and agents into the other hives. You managed that to a degree, but you could have forced a total collapse in their defenses across the planet, and not just surrender by assassination. That move was also mistimed. Another 37 hours, and the pressure from our assault would have been eroding their ability to communicate. Secondary psychological fear, doubt, and confusion would have been rising to a peak. You could have ridden that, played and controlled its pace, forcing hives to fall or change sides at the exact moment when it would amplify whatever effect you wanted.
Honestly, I am so shocked because Sternly voted for the Space Sharks to get it out of the way, but if he'd voted Fulgrim, Fulgrim would be winning right now.
What you did was effective, but it was not optimally so by your own criteria.
Dawn stared at Alpharius, but the Alpha Legion Primarch did not reply.
I know you, brother.
Continued Dawn.
I knew that you were here before I walked through the door. I knew it was you on that throne.
Yeah.
But not because you made an error in your masquerade. You made no mistake. Yet I still knew it was you. Think on that, brother. It is not that I do not understand what you are or what you do. I understand both. We are what we choose to be.
Dawn turned and walked to the doors. Alchemus followed,
For the Emperor.
said Alpharius.
Fuck the Emperor, said Harvey. Ultimate victory, let's go. Honestly, a lot of people have been, like, Fulgrim and the Space Sharks have been two of the most popular ones in, like, the last few polls. But, like, last week it got beat out by Alpharius in the last moment. And that was insane. So we're gonna see which of them make it through today.
To hold and take part in the greatest secrets of the Imperium has its consequences. The twin Primarchs following their reunion spent decades on the forefront of the Great Crusade. The Alpha Legion fought with expert precision, infiltration and assassination. They were the 20th Legion, but named Alpha. It was not an irony, it was a statement. They were on top. They were the best. It is understandable that we as people never want our sacrifices to go unacknowledged and unremembered, but was this needed for a so-called Ghost Legion? Alpharius, Omegon, and the Legion are still human, and not without human ego.
Yeah, but the sharks are kind of basic, really, Mateo. They're cool, but come on. If we're doing Fulgrim Adeptus Ridiculous video, you got it, Wolfbane. It's the Snake Boy.
Is it how Dawn says, that the way they waged war was not ultimately so by their own criteria, almost like they are showing off?
I like Fulgrim because he's my Primarch, but agreed, Space Sharks do seem to be a cult favourite.
And what does it mean to chase victory by any means? Did the tactics of Alpharius and the early Alpha Legion in their shadows of the Imperium really belong in the light? The truth is revealed in the words "victory matters." Victory by any means is a choice, an ethical outlook that says the ends justifies the means.
I know that
Dawn
guy.
and even Gulliman despised Alpharius Omegon, who in a joint campaign with the Ultramarines took to using overly complicated strategies over simple ones. This caused a 90% casualty rate upon the world's human defenders. When the raging Gilliman questioned the 20th Primarch,
A 90% death rate. Yo. Bro. I don't have faith you do my boy justice.
before him, Alpharius
We'll find out.
Omegon responded, "It would have been too easy." An outcome that would have been extremely uncharacteristic of Alpharius.
What? I come in and people are saying sharks are basic. Where did I put my chain fist, lightning claw, power fist combo weapon? Yo, Dagan! Hey, Timothy! Recommend the Emperor's Children. I am an Emperor's Child, and that is on my list. Don't worry. Don't worry. I got you. Emperor's Children is coming. The week after we do Fulgrim, I will be doing Emperor's Children. Just be like... Because, like, that's me. The Fulgrim books are awesome. That's good. Fulgrim's Legion history and tactics videos by Oculus Imperia. I like Oculus Imperia, so you've got a deal, Timothy. Just make sure, put these recommendations in the comments afterwards, because I do not remember things. I literally go into the comments or into the Discord to pick out the recommendations. Hunger and Slake? What do we have in Ethiopian food?
The Primarch, who has spent many years perfecting his presence-altering gift amongst ordinary people, learning to sympathise with them, versus Omegon,
Okay.
the Primarch who had grown up with no one, and perhaps not with the experience that would humble him to base humanity. They were twins, two halves of one whole, the closest amongst all brothers. Perhaps not everything about them aligned. Their ethics would be tested in the latter days of the Great Crusade by a man named John Chromaticus, an agent of the alien organisation known as the Cabal. The Cabal
I was just making a joke, Dan. It was just distasteful. But yes, I will listen to the song. Space Sharks, if they do win, same group. Adeptus Ridiculous. I'll consider it.
Cabal revealed to Alpharius and Omegon the outcome of Horus being named War Master. It would set them down a path of war that would burn the Imperium from within, the Horus Heresy. Two psychic visions enveloped the twin Primarchs. If the Emperor won the impending civil war, the Imperium of Man would slowly decay over millennia, becoming a rotten mockery until it and trillions of souls were ultimately consumed by chaos.
I'm currently on the Heresy, but when that ends, maybe the Space Sharks are next. I'm on Big Heresy. Yes, Stern will give me all the recommendations. Here's a threat. If you don't put your recommendations in the comments, Sternly will pick every single video that we watch, because he sends me recommendations every single week, as do all the Patreons. So if you want to see a video, comment section. Otherwise, patrons gonna take up all the time. Alright?
Immense foul warp entities that called themselves gods. The other vision showed that if Horus won the war, after 2 to 3 generations, Horus would be racked with guilt for slaying his father, and would ultimately obliterate all chaos-tainted factions in the galaxy. But humanity would be destroyed in the process, taking down the dark gods with them. It was defeat down each path.
Actually, Horus winning sounds like the better alternative. They want chaos gone, kill all humans.
One, a slow death and victory for chaos, or the other, a quick end that will destroy the foul dark gods. What would you do with such information? How do
I'd
you
like
react when the
chaos
fate of the
win.
galaxy rests on your shoulders? Alpharius and Omegon began to decide what side they would be on for the wars to come.
Horus is bald. Dylan, you're entirely correct. I cannot argue with that. Horus is bald. Means he's inherently evil. Have you guys met Jeff Bezos?
It was to watch, to understand, and to act.
Who's Cypher?
It was the teachings of Malkador that formed the foundation of what Alpharius took to every mission.
Thank you, Dan!
Warzone and Decision. The Cabal were dangerous, but what was more important was...
I'm gonna let you know though, Dan. If sharks win, at some point I'm gonna sing Baby Shark do 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 do. The facts speak for themselves. Is Cypher really Omegon? Well, Alpharius, technically.
the information that they had given.
Yes. Alpha Legion's evil purely because bald. If you haven't met Jeff Bezos, you don't get it. Jeff Bezos is evil, and it's because his evilness is trapped in the bald. Ask Dorian, he's got a whole cult around it. It's a whole thing. They have a cult. They slap his bald head. So, like, Cypher being Alpharius is such a cool theory. I need to hear that theory. I need to also learn about Cypher. I don't know about Cypher either. Yo, I'm so behind on lore. Do we need to watch more videos?
Given. The Alpha Legion likely played along in the beginning, as it was more useful to let an enemy reveal more information. The Legion and the Primarchs contemplated their choice. Secrets and lies was the way of the Legion. They'd often made choices without approval, so they chose victory. It was their responsibility, as it always had been. Just like the custodian guard who was killed in the name of Imperial defense.
You have my word that until I have a basic knowledge of all topics of Warhammer, I will not end this channel. This channel remains until I know at least a basic amount about everything.
The Alpha Legion chose to side with the traitors in the defense of the galaxy. They believed the visions of the Cabal. Perhaps if presented to any other Primarch, they would have run straight to the Emperor, but they
Dark Angels are on the list, 100%.
were warriors of shadow. They knew no other way. The dark gods of the warp corrupted Horus, just as the visions had predicted, reviving him from his mortal wounds, and set him down the path of betrayal.
It sounds like we got a lot of time left to go. Does that include Warhammer Fantasy? It depends. We'll see how far we get with Warhammer. But maybe. You are right. There is a possibility.
And when the now corrupted War Master asked, the Primarch Alpharius Omegon answered. After the virus bombing of Isfahan III, the presumed loyalist Alpha Legion was one of the Space Marine legions sent by the Emperor to destroy Horus and the traitor legions upon Isfahan V, assigned.
Yep, he's bald. Forever, let's go. I'm always smug. Unless you mean him, he's also smug. We're both smug. We are a smug duo. So much lore. So forever, right, if you guys are willing to be here forever, then gutted for your life, gutted for your future, but here I am.
Into the second wave, the Legion instead turned on their loyalist allies. It became a bloodbath.
This is good, right? If this channel ever took off and I ever made a living off YouTube, I could just imagine it getting to the point where I got so invested in Warhammer that we were learning about new topics every single day. And as fun as that sounds, because I did that for a week for our 4,000 watch time celebration, I feel like my friends would call me a nerd more than they do already. My friends already call me a nerd. I think I can fit forever into my schedule. Let's go, we got Stanley!
And was known as the Drop Site Massacre, one of the most violent battles in the Imperium's history. Yet curiously, some of the survivors have been allowed to escape, including Korax of the Raven Guard, though this was used as an opportunity to place disguised operatives amongst the survivors. The Alpha Legion agents followed the survivors all the way to Kievar, where a rebellion was incited. The operatives used this cover to poison the...
Yeah, and that's why Fulgrim's my Primarch. Because he's not evil, he's just misunderstood. Remember, male pattern baldness is a justifiable excuse to betray everyone you've ever loved. If Korax wants to leave, he'll leave. Vibe. Look at the Primarchs, most chaos or bald. See? Bald, evil. Bald, evil.
fresh gene stock sent to rebuild the Legion, turning the new Marines into monsters, leaving the Raven Guard decimated, or out of the way. The years of the heresy progressed, and Alpharius, Omegon and the Legion slaughtered their loyalist brothers across the imploding Imperium, even managing to blockade the uninformed White Scars upon their homeworld of Jagoris. It was during this standoff that Lord Omegon came to one of his captains, offering his blood. Amongst all the Primarchs, it was not just the gift of Mars' presence that belonged.
Thank you, Mateo. Bald men are pretty sexy. I won't disagree. They're evil though. Fantasy is complicated. You have to deal with the Age of Sigmar stuff too, which is a whole other can of worms. God, guys, you've already got me forever. You want me forever in a day? Let's go.
Belonged to the 20th Primarchs. Legionaries who ingested their blood could temporarily gain a small portion of their power and access to the Primarch's memories. The captain was given a task so secretive it could never be recorded. A crack team Alpha Legion squad were tasked by Lord Omegon to destroy a local pylon array.
Anyone with hair is misunderstood. Mark Strong? Who's Mark Strong? Five. Also, the End of Times did a pretty good job dividing the fantasy community. Of course they did. They always do that. Conrad smells like ammonia. Did you just say Conrad smells of piss? Because, like, I believe you just told me he smells of piss. The Dark Elder have her right? Maybe. Maybe they're misunderstood.
Garrisoned by their own brothers. The squad were successful, but were sacrificed to keep the knowledge secret. With the destruction of the array, a signal roared onto Jagoris, informing them of the truth of the heresy. It was Alpharius. Having traded places with Omegon decades ago, he had assumed the title in secret from his legion. Alpharius loved his brother and was doing what he was taught, to watch, to understand, but now he was acting. He was engaging in operations in secret against his own legion and brother.
That's lore accurate. Apparently him and Corvus kind of stink. Damn. End times is proof chaos makes everything worse. Then I don't believe it. It's actually a book. So he does smell what never shout. To be fair, I'm pretty sure everyone in this world stinks. How are you just gonna get naked and get a shower? I'm telling you now. How many? Right. Put a one in the chat if you would feel comfortable getting undressed and showering in this world. I don't see any ones. Point proven.
He was steering the course of the war through the shadows of his own legion. After all, he was the weapon the Imperium's enemies did not expect. Omegon woke. He had never slept, never dreamed, or felt the tug of mortal fatigue in all the days of his existence. Yet here he was waking from black oblivion to the cold deck of the ship beneath him. The darkness of his arming chamber closed about him. The pulse of beta engines was a distant rumble.
Don't drop the soap.
On the edge of silence, coldness poured through his flesh. Moisture beaded his skin. He could taste blood in his mouth, thick and harsh with iron. His hands were numb. The fingers hooked as though grasping something that had vanished. He moved the fingers and then brought them up to his face. Sharp needles of pain prickled beneath his touch. And then a new feeling came, crushing in its weight, undeniable in its truth, though he could not tell how it had arrived. He was alone. Words began to form on his tongue, but the door to the chamber was already opening. Arcos stood in the light of the door, his battleplate humming as he stepped within.
Lord Omegon.
Arcos said, bowing his head briefly, then stopping as his eyes fell upon his Primarch.
Is there something wrong?
So you're right, Dan. You're telling me there is a dwarf that survived by going to hell and no one was there? Why wouldn't you just take over hell? Be like, this is my hell now, bitch! Lock the gate! Where the fuck are they gonna go? They got no home! like, bye. But you get to learn the Glory Skaven. What's the Glory Skaven? Big Daddy Dom messing fools up. Always messing fools up. But no, I'd just lock them out of hell. I'd be like, see you. Bye-bye.
No, no.
Is there? He blinked. Cold spirals of light were briefly at the edge of sight.
Yeah, but you'll get new souls every day. Like, while the murder and onslaught is going, you'll get new souls for hell. So you'll just get homies coming down. You'll be like, right, I'm your king now. And then you've got what? Undead army. Was that Gortek?
Is there? He blinked, bowing his head briefly, then stopping as his eyes fell upon his Primarch.
No.
Is there something wrong?
No, no.
Is there? He blinked. Cold spirals of light were briefly at the edge of sight. Alone.
Is there word from Lord Alpharius?
Omegon asked. Still looking at his hands, he could sense Arcos's frown without needing to see it.
None.
He said.
But there is something else.
Omegon looked up, the muscles of his neck cold as they moved.
War Master Horus wishes to consult directly with Lord Alpharius.
Do we have any indication of what his concern is?
I thought you meant in this was that Gortek. I was like, who the fuck is Gortek? But also, I told you, the dwarf may have been trying to die. What he should have done is taken over hell and create an undead army. Exactly. Like, if you take over hell and, like, you just say to everyone, I'm the king of hell, you want to get hurt? 9 out of 10 of them are going to turn to your side. The ones that don't got 9 people after him. So who's in hell? Wait. Nah. Who's got the undead if they're not in hell? Who the fuck is in hell? They kill any of the Primarchs, that's funny. Wild.
No, Lord,
said Arcos.
our sources within the War Master's court have become unreliable.
Omegon nodded, glancing over his shoulder as though he had heard something in the empty dark.
Prepare the Metatron,
He said.
I will speak with my brother.
Arcos nodded,
A little bit.
his gaze lingering on his Primarch for an instant before he left. Alone. Omegon armored himself. The blind servitors bolted in the plates of armor over his flesh.
Oh, I'd take over that demon realm. I'd steal all this shit. I'd just ransack the place.
As the numbness in his hand and neck became a smouldering pain. I am alone. The knowledge rose through the coldness of his thoughts. Certain and inescapable, though he could not say how he knew that it was fact, not fear. He had never been alone, not truly. Even from the first spark of thought in his consciousness, he had known that he was one of many, a fragment of a greater whole, a piece of great destiny.
Yeah.
He walked from his armory, the scaled and crested helm of the Primarch of the Alpha Legion under his arm. Arcos was waiting in the sealed chamber, where they kept the Metatron. Omegon nodded, and the attendants began to unbolt the mask from the one-time Asherpath's head. He watched as the famine-thin figure writhed, ghostlight and smoke pouring from its mouth, to form a shadow in the air above it. A shadow with a face and form. Frost spread across the floor and his armor. He bowed his head, even as the shadow turned to look at him. What had happened?
Wait, why is he gonna die?
What was happening? What was he now? As he realized that the words he was about to say would trap him for the rest of existence, the jest turned into mocking truth.
I am Alpharius. What is your will, my War Master?
He is alone. That feeling of being incomplete returned. Over the years, the heresy ravaged the Imperium, Alpharius had been sabotaging the traitors, doing so in secret, as perhaps he did not want to so openly confront his brother and tear the Legion apart, especially as he was Omegon, and the Legion had spent over 2 centuries in loyalty to Alpharius, who was secretly Omegon after their reunion.
Because he was Alpharius, who was secretly Omegon, and the Omegon was secretly Alpharius. Has never sounded so ridiculous in a sentence. Hydra became basically a god and got a sexy dark elf friend to me. Still can't die though. Ouch.
The heresy progressed all the way to the solar system, with the Alpha Legion leading the charge upon the station on Pluto. As the Legion fought its way onto the platform, they were countercharged by the Imperial Fists and the Primarch Rogel Dawn. A duel broke out between Omegon, masquerading as Alpharius Omegon, and the Praetorian of Terra. The clash was fierce, and was so blindingly violent, it truly was a battle between demigods. Omegon, overconfident, fell into Dawn's trap, and he killed him. Alpharius, back on his flagship, felt it instantly. He felt
That's so funny. Lamau.
the shock. I believe Alpharius along the way began to question their path. He had spent his early life right at the heart of the Imperium. He was the first Primarch found, and his loyalty must have been just as strong as any of his brothers.
Yo, Adam! Hi! Long time no see. I'm joking. I see. Everyone, Adam is one of my mods on Twitch, so be nice. He doesn't know anything about Warhammer. Here we go, oh fuck. Right, let me rewind a bit so I don't ruin it.
I believe Alpharius along the way began to question their path. He had spent his early life right at the heart of the Imperium. He was the first Primarch found, and his loyalty must have been just as strong as any of his brothers. But he is torn in the direction of his twin, and his loyalty to him, to the path of victory. The psychic predictions of the Cabal has started to play out. It made the twins believe it was real, and they chose what they thought their father would do. Victory. Over time, perhaps he lost his surety in the Cabal's predictions. Maybe not everything is written in stone. The Cabal even stated to them that they knew Alpharius Omegon was the last Primarch found, but that was true for only one of them. Alpharius steered his legion and brother through the tactics that were in his blood, lies and deception. It was in a way to try and fight for the Imperium, but also to protect his brother from a legionary civil war.
Keep ranting about dwarves, it's completely fine. Don't get him. He's my mod. He's a good egg.
He loved him. Their bond was closer than any one of us could really understand. They were 2 halves of a whole. Even the rational Alpharius must have struggled with the fact that he had to deceive the one he was closest to. Sometimes we all lie to protect the ones we care for, but all of it was in vain. Omegon was dead. The Primarch who grew up alone. The last found Primarch. The one who joined the Legion upon its unveiling to the Imperium. The man who only knew the victories the Legion had brought to the Great Crusade. Alpharius was alone. And as if it was a cruel joke, he alone ascended to the facade he and his brother had created. He became Alpharius Omegon. He could no longer discard this name. It was no longer a tool. Sometimes we forget the cost that lies have upon us. The facades that we create can often be crushing, as they are ideal versions of what we have to live up to. Alpharius had enjoyed anonymity for so long, and now it was all taken away in the name of a cause he did not believe in. Alpharius appeared alone on Ullanor during the muster of traitor forces, in preparation for the siege of Terra. No other Alpha Legion forces were present in the system, making many of the other traitors wonder how Alpharius could even be there at all.
A good egg? Humans are not eggs? I don't know, Wolfbane, we all started as an egg. So how are we not eggs? Think of it this way. Well, you were an egg. I was an egg. He was an egg. We're all eggs. We start as eggs. So how do we truly lose ourselves as egg? The egg is just inside of us. Because we're still that egg. You know? that egg just built us outside of it. So deep in the lake. Hey, don't say his head looks like an egg. You don't know what his head looks like. Hear me out. There's the egg deep inside of all of us. Checkmate, loyalist! But yeah, all the memes, convert him to the Church of Ward, send him to Robo Girlyman, paint him purple so they vanish. Aww. I'm sorry they glossed over it, but hopefully it will come up in one of the other stories, because we've got loads left.
Before Horus's dark triumph on Ullanor, Alpharius appeared in the War Master's command tent.
Actually, this video has taken longer than probably most other videos do. Like, I'm having a lot of fun with you guys today. Thanks.
And gave him a cylinder which contained a detailed layout of all the Sol system's defences and infrastructure. Alpharius then took out a dagger and shattered it in his hand, throwing the pieces at Horus's feet before leaving. The Legion had been branded traitors. They had killed their loyalist counterparts. They had sacrificed a Primarch. Alpharius was done, and the traitors would have to assault Terra without them. A legion divided. The 20th had chosen to sacrifice humanity by
We are all Alpharius. Can I get an I am Alpharius in the chat?
siding with the traitors and directing the path of time towards the destruction of the foul dark gods. But their Primarch was dead, the one they believed to be Alpharius, the one who had moulded them from the very beginning, the one who had imprinted the creed that if one head of the Hydra was cut off, another would take its place. Alpharius, who became Omegon, had assumed the single title, the facade Alpharius Omegon. But where did his legion's loyalty lie? Perhaps there were many who believed in the victory at all costs, because it was how they were trained. How many would defy the ascension of who they saw as one who was betraying the wishes of their founding Primarch? Though lies had often been useful in how the 20th operated, it had its consequences too. Alpharius was in charge of an
Mateo, did you gotta drop an Omegon in here?
independently spirited legion, whose information and layers of secrecy put them on the brink of collapse. How could Alpharius face Horus with his divided legion versus the assembled traitors? Alpharius had chosen the other path. He chose the slow decay of humanity.
Work. You are magnificent. I am Alpharius.
But why did he believe he could change his fate? Because all records lie. He understood and weaved lies like it was an absolute of his nature. Alpharius could not choose a path that sacrificed the common people, a path that truly betrayed the Emperor. I believe Alpharius recognized what he truly was, what path he had to take to create the ultimate victory.
I agree with you. I think these guys are this is one of the more interesting legions that I've actually got into.
It is the words of Malkador spoken 2 centuries ago on Terra that still ring true. He must be the sword in the darkness, the secret shield, the weapon their enemies do not expect. Alpharius had to return to the shadows. He had to become the ghost, just like he was before. He had to be the traitor amidst the weakened build
No!
Primarch. Though lies had often been useful in how the 20th operated, it had its consequences too. Alpharius was in charge of an independently spirited
When it comes to the Waybearers, I like that they spout chaos, but I think they're dicks.
legion, whose information and layers of secrecy put them on the brink of collapse.
So, Adam, it's a lot of things. I discuss law, I react to law, I talk about law, but it's mostly just chill chat and people give me information about stuff. I have a good time. But if you're around in 3 hours, elliptical, if you're free.
How could Alpharius face Horus with his divided legion versus the assembled traitors? Alpharius had chosen the other path. He chose the slow decay of humanity. But why did he believe he could change his fate? Because all records lie. He understood and weaved lies like it was an absolute of his nature. Alpharius could not choose a path that sacrificed the common people, a path that truly betrayed the Emperor. I believe Alpharius recognized what he truly was, what path he had to take to create the ultimate victory.
Listen though, the word bearers are douches. They're douche. Need the factions to get love? We'll love all factions. What they're getting at, in case it wasn't clear, is that Alpharius is playing at being a traitor, but secretly orchestrating. Yeah, no, I get it. That's why he, like, threw off Horus. He was like, shit, everyone thinks we're a traitor, so I'm still technically an undercover operative. Didn't disobey Dad! Let's go!
It is the words of Malkador spoken 2 centuries ago on Terra that still ring true. He must be the sword in the darkness, the secret shield, the weapon their enemies do not expect. Alpharius had to return to the shadows. He had to become the ghost, just like he was before. He had to be the traitor amidst the traitors. With the close of the siege of Terra, the Emperor slew Horus, but was crippled and interred upon the Golden Throne. The Alpha Legion did not follow the retreating traitor legions into the Eye of Terror. It was years later, on a world known as Escrador, that Alpharius and Rebute Guilliman, a Primarch that despised the facade of Alpharius Omegon, would meet for the last time.
Oh, on a secondary note, if any of my Patreons want to play Alpharius in a Harley Hammer episode, hit me up.
Believing that Guilliman would adopt his standard deployment procedures, as later outlined in the Codex Astartes, Alpharius was surprised by the Ultramarines. A splinter force, including their Primarch, made a quick strike at the Alpha Legion's headquarters. Alpharius, playing up his role, was reportedly happy with such a development, as it allowed him to demonstrate his force's superiority. Both Primarchs met in combat, and Alpharius Omegon for a second time was reportedly killed. Believing the combat over, for what Astartes Legion could ever survive the loss of their Primarch in battle, the Ultramarines were taken by surprise by the remaining elements of the Alpha Legion.
Yep.
They were struck back a solar day later. The Ultramarines who had launched the attack on the Traitors Legion's headquarters were harried so mercilessly that by the time they had returned, their casualties were almost total. They had lost the battle, but they had won the war.
Virus bombs go brrrr. I have the same feeling about using Chaos Demons in 99.9999999% of war shenanigans. Like, give the Enslaves of the Void Hounds or the Psychunians some love. I need to know about all those. I don't know about those yet.
But it felt easy. The Alpha Legion, known for their flexibility, subterfuge, and deception, had fallen for such a simple strategy. Not renowned for his combat skills compared to his brothers, Guilliman too felt the duel was too easy. The consequences for the battle was that Alpharius Omegon was dead, and the leadership of the 20th Legiones Astartes was gone. Life is often shaped by our formative years. We take the education, the culture and beliefs of our environment into the world, and in turn those ideals and values are challenged. Alpharius was found on Terra, the first Primarch, but he was hidden and kept a secret. He was trained by the Sigillite to be secretive, cunning and observant. He trained his gift and was able to mask his presence, allowing him to infiltrate but also experience a mortal person's life. He was to be the sword in the darkness, one who was willing to kill loyal soldiers, such as a custodian in the name of the defense of the Imperium. He was there, blending into his brother's legion, and even finding them across the galaxy.
Enslavers are warp creatures with mind control powers. Psychunians are, that wasp that lays eggs in caterpillars. It's that, but it tells...
All his life he had felt incomplete, and knew a part of him was out there in the stars. Omegon, the boy who grew up with no one, who had to learn to be strong to survive. When the twins met, the usual cold and calculating was replaced with joy and fulfillment. They rejoined their legion and brought them into the light to honor their sacrifices for humanity. But war changes everyone. The legion began to show off, reveling in their superiority as the best legion. The Legion of Lies and Deception was shown two futures by the Cabal, a
Hell yeah.
choice that they took as sacrificing humanity to save the galaxy. But Alpharius chose different. Why did he take action that defied the choice of betrayal? Why did he have the pylon array guarded by his own sons destroyed? Why not be open to his legion? It was subtle actions taken in the shadows because he was betraying his brother. It was in that moment of Omegon's death that showed shock. His death was a surprise. He himself had killed loyalists in the name of something greater, but he never wanted this. Grief is a hard thing to bear. We have all felt the pain of losing someone unexpectedly. Even the genius calculating Primarch is not immune to the pain of loss. He has suffered so much, yet he cannot return to his father's side. The facade of betrayal is too important. He has to bear this suffering and loneliness for the Imperium in order to protect it, just like Malkador taught him. The Legion following the heresy is divided. The layers of secrets that once had been their weapon have become their crutch. Alpharius knew that the future of the Imperium needed to be protected. He had to be what he was always meant to be, the weapon their enemies did not expect. The Alpha Legion following the supposed death of Alpharius Omegon shattered into warbands. For millennia the various warbands have diverged and changed, such as the Redacted, legionaries who still see themselves as loyal to the Emperor and consider their activities a cull of the weak elements in the Imperium. But this has coincided with many legionary remnants that have accepted the power of the Dark Gods and regularly offer innocent people and worlds to them. But yet still, not as all as it seems. On the world of Sar Drekka in late M41, deep in Imperium Nihilus, Captain Kassar of the Alpha Legion warband known as the Unsung was sent to corrupt a human psyker in the name of the Dark Gods. But the Alpha Legion faced competition, for Khan the Betrayer of the World Eaters had arrived to lead the final assault and claim the life of the beacon for Khorne. Saint Celestine appeared from the warp not long after to aid in this crucial fight, but surprisingly, Celestine entrusted the Psyker to Kassar, stating that the Emperor had shown her a vision, that the Psyker was safe in their care. It seems that the Emperor has someone in the shadows, a sword in the darkness, someone who has sacrificed everything to bring victory, because with victory we can build dreams. The records call Alpharius dishonorable, a traitor to the Imperium, but all records lie.
Hear me out. Bet you that was Alpharius. No, that was a really good video. Amber King, you know what? You get an upvote. I like you. Amber King did a really good video there. I really liked that. Like, up there is a brothel and they're acting weird and totally not Slaanesh. We need to investigate to make sure it's not Slaanesh. Guess what? 10 hours later it's Slaanesh. Yo, Florin! Hello! I hope you're doing well. Also, I don't feel like the tabletop takes advantage of some of the amazing shit that there is, personally. Unlike you, I am Alpharius, Florin! Like, the Amber King is so fucking good. His voice is good. His pacing's good. His storytelling's good. I learnt a lot from that video, and I understood a lot from that video. Yo, Amber King? Sup? Holly, nice to meet you. He will never see this video, so he'll never know that I said that. But, like, I'll know. I'll know.
A promotion, they
That's
called
upsetting.
it. I leapt at the chance. As an arbiter of a long and distinguished career, I can tell you one thing. It's not all it's cracked up to be. I leapt at the chance for a change. The thing with this job is that it so often involves wiping mutant off your boots. I despise them. The regular journeys into the Underhive to Culdum, my old gaffer used to say. The hive is like a house, my lad, and
His use of quotes is phenomenal. His use of quotes is phenomenal. I felt the entire time like I was in this storybook world, and like it really drew me into it, and I would love to watch more of his. Definitely. Amber King, A+.
The underhive is the sewer. If you don't flush it out regularly, the feces start to run in the streets. But I won't miss it. I never took pleasure in the pyres we made of their burnt bodies. The culls.
Sag.
In my mind, the most disgusting thing about mutants is their need to try to gain mercy by sounding like us. I know it's all mimicry. Like an animal that seems to call your name in the dark, only to pounce on you when you wander away from the campsite. They insist on trying to sound like humans when they are screaming.
What? Why? To be fair, Alpharius is my third least favourite Primarch. Only Ferris and Lorgar are worse. I agree with you, Lorgar is the worst, but then it's Snorn. 40k where the cops need bolters and space marine tanks vibe. Not gonna deny that.
When they are wailing for pity and clemency. But it's all an act, and I won't miss it at all. Well, what a fool. They handed me a midden sandwich, all right. Transferred to internal affairs for exemplary service and conduct. But it was a setup. It reminds me of the joke you only hear in this department. How do you kill 99 officials with one club and without breaking a sweat? Push 100 of them into a room, hand them the single club, and inform them one of them is Alpha Legion. And they can't come out until they find out who.
That's funny.
It's not funny. It was never funny.
Alright, I don't like that I said it was funny as you said it's not funny. Oh, I know, it's really cool that he does that. Is there for like 10 minutes before he loses his head? Fair. But yeah, no, absolutely amazing, Liam. But I love how he was like, it's not funny, as I was like, that's kind of funny.
It's a living hell. When the first one turned up with that nasty little tattoo, their three-headed snake or Hydra, whatever they call it, it was just the beginning. We find them everywhere now. At the sites of explosions, at the scene of executions. They never run. They just stand there with their hands on their heads and a glazed expression, with just a hint of a crooked smirk on their faces. Like they know they are going to be tortured to death, but have somehow won. I hate it, and I hate them. But there is one thing I hate more than anything else. It is filling in the damn charts.
Fair?
There's a chart, a sheet for bloody everything in this role. Everything. So I fill in yet another chart, another form, another waste of my time. The last words chart. Why do we even bother? None of them make any sense. Before they are executed, a strange and arcane ritual is enacted. The executioner will ask them if they have any last words. Gibberish is what then occurs. They say practically the same phrase each time, with only one difference. It starts, I am Alpharius, whoever that is. And then they end with, the Hydra awakes.
Oh, if I like doing lore rabbit holes, Dead by Daylight has some good lore. I'd listen to that. I'd be so down, Adam. I would love to do some like other lore projects. That'd be super cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Ferris comes up more in his Fulgrim video. Good. I don't know enough about Ferris. I barely know anything about Ferris. The Alpha Legion uses a lot of regular humans as well, like sleeper agents and the like. Good, as they should. Bolters, you have to understand, bolters are not normal weapons. No, they're better than the fucking flashlights. Laser pointers.
But there is always a word.
I do
Just
love how he
one.
speaks, though.
That is snuggled between the two statements. Rubbish. So it goes like this. I am Alpharius. You, the Hydra awakes. So I have to put all of these last words into the cogitator. I should be out hunting them, trying to predict their pattern. But no. I am doing this admin work. I fill in entry after entry, line after identical line, one by one on this huge sheet. It takes hours. But then, something happens. I start to notice a pattern.
Oh, I know. FNAF is kind of cool. I think that I'd probably do that more for my indie horror channel. That might be cool to do some indie stuff, indie lore. That would be kind of cool. The Alpha Legion, I read that one. To be fair, las guns are a very good weapon. It's just not good when you're fighting an orc. Who's it good against? The Entai of the Dead by Daylight is a warp Entai. That's my canon. Really? That's cool. Okay, I might learn about that one then. And most people know very little about furries. It's a problem when you were Primarch they had the least time with before they died. Fair. Other humans. Hello, other humans! I'm so bad at pressing things today.
At last. Something to go on. Their Achilles heel, maybe. When put in order of execution, it makes no sense at all. But when you rearrange into date of arrest, it becomes clear. I ignore the prologue and epilogue entries of I am Alpharius, and the
I am
fighter awakes,
Alpharius!
and a sentence begins to form from all of those random words. I enter the last details. Then it becomes clear. You are asleep. But you must do as instructed. Destroy the Arbites' main center.
There ain't no humans here. If we tell Slanesh, she'll come and get you. I can't tell her, sorry. We're all orcs. Gork, mork.
The Hydra awakes. A pain appears behind my eyes for a second, then clears as swiftly as it arrived. I look at my reflection in the cogitator screen. I know what I must do. I press the delete button, wiping the records permanently. I stand and leave my office. I lock the door. I walk with a spring in my step down the many flights of stairs to the power station at the base of the building. I walk inside and nod to the tech priest there, before I pass his bemused glare and stare at the power core. I draw my pistol quietly and then turn and execute the priest. A single shot to the head. I then walk to the controls. I begin the process of overloading it. I had no idea I was so gifted with this sort of thing. I stand back and admire my handiworks as I hear the plant begin to shudder, slowly rising to the moment it will explode and envelop this entire block in radioactive fire.
I mean, a las gun is fully capable of blowing off a guy's arm, so if you're fighting humans, gods, or Eldar, it works fine. Plus, it is a higher tier weapon if you're adding in gang weapons. Listen, though, most of the time it's only a good weapon when it's used in, like, the hundreds. Like, I like a good weapon that can kill hundreds, you know? Hey, doggo. Like, in one fell swoop. Oh!
I walk to another...
Sorry, I promised Stern, my dog. Eco! One moment. Sorry about this. I promise. Promise! Oh! This is... Ah! Ah! This is Eco. No, it's not the horse. Just Eco. She loves me a little bit too much. What the dog doing? Wait, Adam, try that. I think they do work here. Try redeem. Oh no, it won't because I've got a different bot than I do for my alerts. But if you redeem it in my Twitch chat, it would play here. If that counts. As time goes on, you'll hear weapons called stubbers and autoguns. These are the most normal modern day weapons. Most PDFs get these weapons. Lasguns only to guard to give them better than the PDF. Oh, you want a Vulcan Meg Bolter? That's a Titan weapon. Nice. Hi. Hello. You're gonna show them your face. She's just smiling at me, by the way. I just want you guys to know I'm getting all the smiles. She just won't smile at the camera. I love you. Alright, I'm gonna bring you down. We got law to learn, BB. We can't learn all the law. What if you just sign my lap? Ah! Right, you ready? Okay, you're either learning about law. Alright. Are you streaming doggo now? Okay, so this is now Eco Stream. Hey, get down. Okay. She's gonna sit in my lap. Let's continue the law.
Panel and tap in my last words. Strange. I'm elated at their writing. I feel such a sense of calm and achievement. I send a single message to the spaceport officials. I am Alpharius. You, the Hydra awakes.
Yes. Me.
Welcome, gentle listener. I am Voldemort, and I wish to introduce you to the factions and forces of the Warhammer 40k universe. Today, we will be attempting to understand possibly one of the most complicated...
Sorry, she's a Jack Russell Chihuahua and as naughty as one. The Warhammer setting is just filled with overpowered creatures, it's true. I love when dogs smile at you, I love when my dog smiles at me.
...and inscrutable factions in the entire grim darkness of the future. For today, we will attempt to wrestle with the very basics of the Alpha Legion. I must state straight off the bat that this is possibly one of the most difficult subjects I have ever had to present, and so I am insistent that this should be a brief introduction, as these matters have been dealt with on the channel previously, as I must be honest and state that my opinion, perspective, my approach to this faction have altered so many times that I am unable to be certain of anything being correct. All we can do is try to discern the very basics, and then to move on to the many, many nuances of this faction at another time.
Wait, are bolters the ones with explosive bullets? Am I wrong? They like go into a person, then they explode. If correct, it is a cool weapon. Hello. And no worries, Wolf. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you. I'll see you next time. I'm sorry it's on a Monday. We'll be back at normal time next week.
Hopefully, by that time, I will have a more solid and static position on them. But that is the wonder of Warhammer. The juice that fills the glass. The thing that keeps fans coming back time and time again. Its complexity. Its depth. And
I tried to put her down and she went dead weight.
I will apologize now, for many a gentle listener may not like this unorthodox entry as it goes on, as it will be so eclectic. But just know that this is by design.
Nice.
So let us move on to the basics and see where the trail takes us. But just know that I honestly do not have an absolute view of where the destination actually is. The Alpha Legion, a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. None can truly know their motivations. None can guess their insidious motives.
I was raised with Rottweilers, but I didn't have a place big enough to get a Rottweiler. And my friend was like, yo, you should get a female Jack Shee. And I was like, well, he was like, I'm looking for a female Jack Shee. So I found one at a rescue centre, this one. And was like, hey, I found one. He was like, no, I didn't want to get one. I wanted you to get one. And I was like, oh, but she's at a rescue centre and she needs a home. And he was like, so are you going to leave her there? And now I have a dog.
But that is the key word here, insidious. Insidious, meaning proceeding in a gradual, subtle way, with very harmful effects. They represent a darkness that few truly grasp. Even I am not sure I am capable of doing so with the details we have at hand, gentle listener. But there is one truth about them. Everything is a lie, and everything is true. For the greatest lies always have the kernel of truth at their centre, and when it comes to lying, the Alpha Legion are second to none. But let us start with what is actually known.
So you wouldn't believe that this little shit was a rescue because she acts like an entitled arsehole. Like, really, honestly, Stern, you would not believe that she was from a rescue centre. Because she's the most entitled princess that ever did a princess. The Autogun Stubber is a bit weird. I know people say it's like a modern weapon. That doesn't entirely make sense given how equal it is to a lasgun. Love you. Get down. Get down. Get down. Get down so I can learn about law. Get down. Get down. Get down. Get down. Get down. Thanks. Go on, you gave me the kisses. No, don't go dead away. I lost my headphones. Apologies.
Primarchs of the Alpha Legion, those demigods who were forged by the Emperor of Mankind to lead his armies across the galaxy in the Great Crusade, were all made, designed, birthed for a
Yeah, she's real affectionate.
reason. Each had their strength that none other possessed. In many, it was blatant, and their primary attribute was not only their defining one, but it was their entire goal, their modus operandi, their raison d'etre, their very purpose. Like a pantheon of gods, the Primarchs would display their powers for all to see, and their legions, the Astartes, Space Marines, that made up their legions were all taken from their template. For example, Leman Russ is quite easily comparable with the god Thor, a bluff braggart, but
Really?
an honourable soul, and warrior without peer, who
Agree to
always would
disagree.
stand against tyranny and evil where it threatened the halls of his people. Such are his legion, the
Such an
Space
evil!
Wolves, loud and aggressive, feral and fierce, but they are
Am I
also
wrong?
unflinching in their loyalty to the Emperor and his Imperium. If the Primarchs are indeed a pantheon, then the Alpha Legion were led by Loki, the Norse trickster god. Always plotting, planning,
True.
always active.
Yeah, but I love your Malamute. They were the best pictures. I love it. But I grew up with Rottweilers, and they were also lapdogs, so...
Some say that Loki was an evil Satan-type figure, but, in my humble opinion, he was not. He was a cautionary tale. The similarities are endless. In many retellings of the fables of the gods, the Aesir, Loki was a young god and hot to impress
Really?
and to insist.
Ugh.
He was also active and always fought the enemies of the gods with his most pronounced attributes.
Why? What went to... Right, everything must have gone to shit when they put official stats on weapons. How bad was it?
His mind, his cunning. He would outthink, not outfight his opponents, and save the realm eternal on many an occasion. But he was not the brute strength of Thor, nor the noble endurance of Balder, nor the indefatigable force of justice of Tyr. Hence, no matter the result of his activity, he was always sneered at and derided by the more brutish gods, as they always concentrated on slighting his methods, never seeing their results. Few were the times that Loki was ever given his due. And so it is with the Primarchs of the Alpha Legion. Yes, you heard me right. Primarchs. Plural. For of all of the sons of the Emperor, only the Alpha Legion had twins at their helm. It was said that they were the one soul in two bodies. They were called Alpharius and Omegon. They were one. Where Alpharius was the name most new, as this was the persona that had been designed or designated as the public face of the Legion. It could never be discerned if one spoke to Alpharius or to Omegon. Never. The myths about Alpharius Omegon are so
Sorry
many
about my dog.
that it is impossible for me, at this point, to actually be clear. Some say he was captured by the Slord, abused, broken, and then found by the Emperor, who then tried to put him back together. Some say he was found at the head of an interstellar empire that was a thorn in the side of the War Master, Horus Lupercal himself, and that one of them boarded his vessel as an assassin to decapitate him and end the Crusades' onward rush into the Empire that...
I think that's the horse right now that she's dealing with. Hey, is that the horse? Yeah, I think it's the horse. I wasn't sure if they were popular enough. It looks like Adeptus Ridiculous did an episode on the sharks. I'll have to see if it's any good. It was confusing to say the least. I've seen Dan, they talk themselves in a circle and don't really say anything. I'm sure Dan will be giving some very in-depth suggestions, considering.
Alpharius
he's been fighting for the space sharks for so long.
And Omegon believed was their own. Some say that he was always on Earth, and that the Emperor,
Okay.
for his own reasons,
So that's
kept these
dumb.
sons hidden and trained them personally for many years, even before the discovery of Horus Lupercal, officially the first Primarch to be reunited with the Emperor and his crusade. Some say that he is actually the unseen hand of the Emperor and plays a game on his behalf, though none of his siblings would or could perform or allow. But this is all propaganda, possibly with a gem of truth
Propaganda.
hidden in each of the lies, but they are, if taken as a totality,
Lord would be
lies,
the one to go with. Let's
dissembling,
go.
propagated, and spread by the Lords of Confusion, the Primarchs of the Alpha Legion. For to know the genesis of a thing often means understanding it, something that they never wanted any to be able to do. Understand them. For the Alpha Legion are the experts in espionage that put even the Raven Guard to shame. Where other legions would display their prowess on the battlefield, the Alpha Legion fought entirely differently. No slouches on the battlefield either, but it was not their purlieu. Here, in the pantheon of the gods, were the Primarchs. It was Alpharius' tactics and his methods that were also derided and slurred, no matter the results, as with my analogy of Loki. His clashes with many notables are well documented. I can still not make a clear picture of it. I know that many come to this site for a slightly off-the-wall perspective that may deviate from the standard relaying by more competent and experienced lore peddlers, but in this regard, I must admit, they have me foxed. But the tale of Loki I find appropriate.
No worries, work. We only have 2 more videos anyway, but thank you so much. I will see you later. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Later. No worries, Dan. Bye. Bye, friends.
Time of the writing of this tract at least,
Trying to make gun stats without a gun guy.
as it was the constant derision of his methods, never giving him his due, that led to Loki taking the path of evil and antagonism to his fellow gods. Basically, if you are lied about endlessly, you start to wear the mantle provided you. Thus does it also appear to be with Alpharius and Omegon. Let us be direct. Even Conrad Kurz, the Primarch of the Night
Hey, I'm
Lords,
down.
the purveyors of Terra themselves, even he called out the tactics of the Alpha Legion. Even the Night Haunter stated that there was something twisted about this legion and its 2 young Primarchs. I will not even brook now the reaction he gained from Rogel or from Baboot, who practically bayed for his blood at many a point in the Great Crusade, but ever did the Odin of the Pantheon, the Emperor, ignore and suppress their contentions. Alpharius, Omegon, and their legion were left to their own devices more and more as time went by. And perhaps this is why they trod the path that they did, that they were found last, that they were literally decades behind their siblings in time to accrue glory and accomplishments may have been a huge impact.
I always get so lost in Voldemort's voice.
For it is said that they initially
You know what I
went
mean?
out of their way to try to move faster and more effectively than any other legion in an attempt to make up for the lost time. But it was not to be. Their efforts, no matter the results, were always derided. At this point, it would be utterly logical for any person, especially a sibling deemed to be the junior, to simply up sticks and refuse to play by the rules that were so heavily stacked against them. In many a recounting, the twins spent blessed little time with the Emperor, their father. Perhaps he had seen them as the completion of his armies and took them for granted. Perhaps he was simply bored of the lines and training he would have to give any Primarch when he had done so 19 times before. It is said in some tales that he formed a better bond with his oldest sibling, the first found, Horus Lupercal, the War Master. It is seen that this lack of time with the Emperor, why they were viewed as so easily turned to the side of Horus when he fell to darkness and then rebelled and set in motion the conflagration
spread a
of the
lesbian
Horus
couple.
heresy. But they did not really spend that much time with Horus either. So there are holes in this argument.
No worries, enjoy The Last of Us. We'll keep watching. You can catch up later. Bye!
Also, there are details that are known only to them. On a solitary world in their path, one of the twins, it is said to be Alpharius, was secretly met by a representative of a group of Xenos, aliens, calling themselves the Cabal. In this meeting, a perpetual called John Grammaticus acted on the behalf of the Cabal as mediator and attempted conversion of the Primarch. Grammaticus stated the Cabal were ancient and powerful and had been working against Chaos for millennia. Of course, on the understanding, gentle listener, that at the point of the meeting there was no general knowledge of the forces of Chaos or their dark gods. Not even the Primarchs knew about them. The Emperor kept this from them all, for reasons we may never know. Grammaticus went on to tell Alpharius that the Cabal had scryed only two possible outcomes to the mighty events that were about to unfold. He was informed that Horus would fall to Chaos, and then he would openly rebel against his father, the Emperor. The two possible future pathways were these. 1. If the Emperor was victorious, then it would break the back of the Imperium and everything it presently professed to represent. The forces of Chaos would grow over time and eventually consume the galaxy. Humanity would be its food for all eternity, and all would be brought down with them. And then 2. If the Emperor were defeated, then Horus would rule the galaxy, but his regret, his conscience, would slowly resurface, and that he would end in despising himself and the Lords of Chaos. He would then engage in wars that would end in wiping out humanity, but that would result in the Chaos Gods being defeated, and the galaxy would then go into a golden age and return to what it was always supposed to have been, before it was twisted. Alpharius and Omegon were then asked to make a choice: to assist the Emperor and end the universe in chaos, or to join Horus, with the goal of sacrificing the human race to defeat the Chaos Gods for all time. Not much of a choice, one might think.
It was still a
It is
choice.
this event that has been used to attempt to define the Alpha Legion. For they did go over to Horus, and
You're a hoser. Hey, Alpaca.
during the Battle of Istvan V, they turned the colour of their cloth and
I was never on Caleb's prophecy. Most of the ones in Heresy are either self-fulfilling or up to interpretation. I agree with you. I think all prophecies are like that. I think any prophecy that's ever told will talk itself into existence.
assisted in the slaughter
Because you'll find something somewhere that lines up with it.
of a full 3 legions of loyalists. Almost to a man. Almost. Surely this points to them taking the path provided by the Cabal. But is it so? Because for this reason Alpharius drew Rogel Dawn into a confrontation that ended in his own death. Rogel slew him. Or did he? Was that actually Alpharius or Omegon? Or simply an incredibly well-trained and performing legionary who had they groomed to be the sacrifice that all believed? Impossible to tell. Alpharius and Omegon are said in some tales to be the smallest of the Primarchs and actually able to move amongst their men with total anonymity. Other reports state that they were towering warriors of golden skin and unsurpassed martial ability. Which are right. Everything is true, and everything is a lie. For there are so many details about them, and yet so few. They claim to serve
I prophesied she'll do something cringe in the next 5 minutes. Alpaca, I'm not you. How can I do something cringe?
Chaos Undivided, but do not show signs of mutation and the blessings from the Dark Gods. They did not retreat into the Eye of Terra as their brothers did when Horus lost at the Battle of Terra, and the traitor legions were then chased to the Eye by the remaining loyalist legions and their Primarchs. The Alpha Legion simply disappeared, and they have been in hiding ever since. Hiding amongst the normal citizenry of the Imperium, even among the forces of the Space Marines. They are considered to be everywhere and nowhere, all at the same time. Yet they still seem to strike for the forces of chaos. Yet they have been recorded to have performed atrocities that would make a World Eater or a Night Lord balk.
You're cringe. Burn on the field, I agree.
But in the rare times they reveal themselves for open combat, they have been heard to scream old war cries like, "For the Emperor." Is this sarcasm, or is it truth? Are they following chaos, or tricking them too? Are they the deepest cover operatives that ever existed in the history of the galaxy, wearing a mask of obedience to the Chaos Gods for over 10,000 years, whilst always remaining loyal in their hearts? The sabotage and deep cover operatives are one of the greatest threats to the Imperium. I know I say that a lot, but each time, it's true. That's why it's called the Grimdark. The Hydra, the many-headed beast, the tick in the ear, the whisper in the back of the mind, is their greatest weapon. Distrust. For most believe that the Imperium is rife with distrust and paranoia, but this is clearly not the case, no matter what people may feel. The reality is that the Navy is expected to carry the forces of the Imperium to its destinations.
I do like Dancing Yoshi, but you wouldn't make it an animated emote, so I hate you.
And protect from raiders and pirates. All worlds are expected to pay their tithes. All chapters of Astartes are expected to respond to the klaxon calls for assistance. The Ministorum are expected to exalt the Emperor, and its people are expected to toil for the Imperium's very survival.
Dancing Slanesh has my heart. Don't even fuck with me on that. Slanesh.
But when these expectations are not met, anarchy occurs. An anarchy that is always abused and used by the Alpha Legion to then perform whatever tasks, secure whatever objectives or resources they require to further their insidious machinations. And, as per the joke we heard earlier,
I likes it.
they are now at a stage that their name alone, the one planted operative designed to be found, can then tear apart these conventions of cooperation, as entire swathes of the Imperial bureaucracy and military then attempt to find these snakes in the grass by purging what may not even be there, but purging nonetheless. They were ever a strange and undeniably powerful legion. Their cohesion and organization, loyalty and unquestioning ability to work together to a single goal on the battlefield was unmatched. Even the Grand Organizer and his Ultramarines were not the equal in their ability to organize a strike of 1,000,000 elements. Their discipline is also a thing to be marveled at.
Can I have after eights?
Truly marveled. Why? Any other Astartes will give their life for their lords without a second thought. But will they give up themselves? Doubtable.
Yo, Spider! Hi!
But what do I mean? The Alpha Legion are so disciplined, so cunning, so dauntless in their devotion to their cause, that they regularly and frequently have their minds, their very personalities.
I'm going to get myself some after eights and I'm going to eat the entire pack. I'm going to sit there and then I'm going to go on the bike. And you're going to feel really bad when you see me throw up after eights.
And everything that makes a person who they are wiped. This allows them to be true deep cover operatives, as there is simply not the information in their minds and souls to be divulged. But imagine the commitment to a cause, to willingly have this performed, to effectively be ended again and again and again, and know that no matter how successful or how impressive your deeds, you will not remember a single one of them.
Yeah, it looks like Fulgrim's going to be on the next one. Space Sharks, though, doing real well. Space Sharks have been requested a couple of times. A couple of people did switch to Space Sharks, saying if we get it out the way, Fulgrim has an easy win. But, like, you know, it was interesting. And Wagwan's final. Wagwan, I have a question. Are you ready for the elliptical stream later? I need my musicians. I need my music. I need my playlist. Don't know anything about Lorehammer, but I always wrote sharks because I like sharks. Well, next week, you're in luck, Alpaca. Sharks.
At the end of the course of your life. Now that is a level of conviction that should make others quake. When one of them is captured and states very simply, "I am Alpharius," it may not actually be a ruse to them. They may actually believe that. The perfect traitor is the one who does not know they are a traitor in their heart, as is oft said. It is these sleeper units that can be everywhere or nowhere. But it also means something else, something strange. It means that there is actually no certainty at all. The legionaries of the Alpha are actually working for the same goal that they started with all of those years ago. How would it be possible for them to even tell? Any Marine.
Honestly, Fulgrim is bottom, but yeah, he's up there with the least interesting Primarchs. For me. Wow, fingers. That's funny. The word shark looks like a shark. Alpaca, I have something for you. Are you listening? I have something for you. This is for you. It's a shack.
Any official, any officer, any man, woman, or child that is encountered in the grim darkness of the future could be a sleeper unit of the Alpha Legion and
True.
never even know it until they are activated. And even then,
Anyone getting Russian sleeper cell energy?
they may not know.
Yes, she is, Adam. Yes, she is. Alpaca comes in, just chat shit at me, dangle her after eights in front of me, and then leave. Also, the Master of the Space Sharks, Carterodons, is one of the tallest and thickest space marines. You have to put dreadnought armor on with his space marine armor, so that's so sick. Pre-heresy Corvus is boring.
It themselves, despite carrying out the nefarious actions of these busy bees. For that is one thing above
Nothing,
all that
Adam.
must be acknowledged by all fans
It's to be
of this
expected.
glorious setting. The Alpha Legion are the hardest workers in the entirety of the human race, for they are never at rest, never still, always plotting and scheming
Alpaca,
towards
you are
ends
rude.
even they may not fully know themselves, but always busy little bees.
I liked this video, but I feel like Voldemort is a little bit behind on the lore, so let's... Right, I hope you guys realize we've got a 1 hour story to listen to. Okay, question. Does anyone want to listen to the long story tomorrow? And just do the short one today, and we can do a second video where it's just the long story. Do an hour stream tomorrow. We all know that Space Sharks have won, so I'm gonna make a poll. There you go.
Another video. So today we're going to be discussing the Alpharius book by Mike Brooks. This is the latest addition to the Primarch series. If you've read all the other ones before, you'll know what I'm on about. It's basically a book dedicated to each Primarch and their story, and well, every book tells a different story. But as I said, this one is the Alpharius one. This video is going to be full of spoilers. So if you haven't read the book, if you don't want to be spoiled, then
I'm okay
please
to be
leave
spoiled.
this video now. This is your first and only warning. So let's jump in and let's get talking. So let's open up with one of the biggest spoilers in the book, is that Alpharius was the first Primarch that was found. He was the first
We know
Primarch
this.
that was discovered. Not Horus. His pod, the pods when the when the Primarch pods were spread out in the galaxy, his pod landed on Terra and was found by the Emperor almost instantly.
Shit.
In the opening pages of the book, it does state that all records are lies. Of course, it's very Alpha Legionnaire. He goes on to say, do you think the Emperor would be stupid to reveal one of his lost creations to his enemies so early on? That's the reason why he revealed Horus and through parades and the Primarchs have been found, because he knew he already had a Primarch at his disposal. He was present at most of his brothers being found, and one of the things he started to do was infiltrate their legions from the bottom up and work his way up. We all know that Primarchs have powers, every Primarch has some type of power, Magnus Psychic and,
He tells us it's okay to be bold. And okay to be bold.
etc., etc. Dawn, he can build a great castle. Perturabo, he fails all the time. But Alpharius' power is kind of like the Emperor's. He can
Both.
force people to perceive him how he wants them to view him. Like the Emperor can look like a god to some people. He can look like the machine god to the Admech. There's actually a story where the Sister of Battle walks past him, and because, they don't see any of the psychic stuff, they just see him as like an old man sat in a chair and stuff. So yes, he has that kind of power where he can make you see him as he wants you to see him. So this is why he was so successful at infiltrating the legions. Like he infiltrated the Thousand Sons, the Lunar Wolves when they were known as the Lunar Wolves. Of course, my boys, the Imperial Fists. It does state that one of the legions that Alpharius struggled.
Of course I was recommended this. He's a Snorn fan. We need more Chaos Primarch books. Vote in the poll.
to infiltrate was the Dark Angels. And if you've read the Dark Angel book, I think you'll understand
Stop tying the pole.
why that is because it's put in that book that they have so many layers of secrets. Like, really, nobody knows what's going on. Of course, the lion's at the top of that pyramid, seeing what's going on, but no one knows what's going on. So if they do get infiltrated in any type of way, or an enemy gets on board, they can't use tactical stuff against them because no one really knows what the end goal is. They're basically just like ogres and onions. They've just got so many layers to their legion. Speaking more of the Dark Angels, or
I do like Orc.
should I say the lion?
Right, Spinal, you weren't here. He literally went, "You cannot be seen, you are." I paused it and went, "John Cena!" Da, 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 da. And like, no one laughed. Where were you when I needed you? Kill for a hide and seek. Boca Covers and Lager. That would be funny. I don't know about that. I really can't do without Magnus getting his butt whooped for the 500th time. Ouch.
Lion, actually, he actually makes a remark that the lion should have been the War Master, and I think I'm coming around to that kind of standpoint. The more I read about the lion, I know a lot of people dislike him and his personality, but the way he led and what he can do and the weapons at his disposal and the trust that the Emperor put in him, I actually think that he would have made the best War Master, maybe after Rogal Dawn, because we all know Dawn became the de facto War Master after Horus betrayed the Emperor. It also mentions that he aided the Lion during the Ragdan Crusades as well, which I really hope that Black Library or GW or someone actually does a full series to on its own, because that is an epic tale within itself. Some more interesting lore is that Alpharius technically started the Blood Games. For those of you who don't know what the Blood Games is, it's where the Custodes come up with like ways to infiltrate the palace to get close to the Emperor, so they can go back and correct those mistakes. They basically get Xenos, they get heretics, they bring him in and they unleash him in the palace and see what damage they can do. So if that was a scenario, they know how to correct it. When I say he technically started the Blood Games, is because he actually infiltrated the palace himself, and he wanted to kill the Emperor in like a game to basically show how vulnerable the defense of the Emperor was and kind of show up the Custodes, in my opinion. So he set up like a trap to take out the Emperor. He was like in a sniper position, and like when the Emperor was like coming down from his ship, he was going to snipe him off. But of course, Valdor burst in like the Kool-Aid Man, oh yeah, and he does like Valdor stuff. At this point in the story, the only people that know of Alpharius' existence is Valdor, Malcador, and the Emperor. It's only them three. So Valdor knew what Alpharius was doing, Alpharius stuff. Now Valdor thinks he's thwarted his attempt. Alpharius' attempt on the Emperor.
You know what? It does sound risky, but it sounds kind of fun. I'd do that. I'd go in to just see if I could kill them.
But then Alpharius like turns around and reveals that he basically hacked like all the gun defenses where the Emperor was about to land, and he could have just like wiped out the Emperor if he wanted to. So Alpharius came up as the winner. So moving on to one of the most technical aspects of this book, and this is where you have to really hold on to your butts, because we are really going down the rabbit hole on this one. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, Valrak, what the hell is going on with Omegon? If Alpharius was found, then was Omegon also found with Alpharius? So Alpharius was the first Primarch to be discovered by the Emperor, and Omegon was the last Primarch to be discovered. Of course, Alpha and Omega. Who would have thunk it? Now, it was Alpharius who was the one who discovered Omegon. Not Horus, like in the old lore. We'll get to that in a second. It's described that when Alpharius found his twin, he was wearing that scale armor and wielding, the famous pale spear, as we all know Alpharius to be known for. But
well, it makes sense considering he's Omegon. Balrak is the voice of the Black Temple plot in Hell's Reach. Oh, that's cool. Unless you get caught by gold bananas, damn. Grady right in there. Or Morty will kill some guy that forgot to wear his helmet when fighting the Plague Guy just to beat by the guy that wore his helmet when fighting the Plague Guy. Damn.
This is what actually happened. And
Alpharius is my horoscope.
Again, get your brains out, because it gets very, very Alpha Legionnaire. So Alpharius was the one who discovered Omegon. It was not Horus. So the two decide to set up the discovery of Omegon at the hands of Horus. but they do the old switcheroo with each other. So Omegon becomes Alpharius, and Alpharius becomes Omegon in name. Omegon, who is actually Alpharius, agrees that Alpharius, who is actually Omegon, will take full command of the Alpha Legion, while Omegon, who is actually Alpharius, will work in the shadows still. So when Horus finds the last Primarch, technically, he is finding Alpharius, but it's really Omegon acting as Alpharius. The real Alpharius, who is now Omegon, is still not known. So what does this mean now for when Dawn was fighting Alpharius? So when he was fighting Alpharius and he killed him in the book Praetorian of Dawn, for those of you who didn't read that book, he basically chopped his hands off and he chopped his head off. He was actually killing Omegon and not Alpharius. Alpharius, the first Primarch to be discovered by the Emperor, the one who is hidden in the shadows, still in the shadows, is still alive at this moment of time in the Horus Heresy. I think the lore in this, the story in this, is an absolute masterpiece, if I say so myself. I'm sure some people will agree. But all the twists and turns, there's so much more in this.
This
Again,
story
this
is
just
actually
like a
really
brief
good.
summary of the book, and talking about some of the main spoilers. But when the book comes out, I'm definitely going to be getting an Audible. For those of you who like reading it, I know probably a lot of you missed the chance to actually pick it up because of the 2500 and the scalpers and everything that goes along with these bloody limited edition books. But really, this is a book that I would massively suggest you pick up. It brings out a whole different light on the Alpha Legion, Omegon, Alpharius, and some of the interesting bits that are really going on at the Siege of Terra at this moment in time. Anyway, that's enough talking and waffling on from me. I want to say thank you to Yuvan for...
Hey, listen, you can't do a Dorian here. I'm not gonna have it. I'm not gonna have it. Okay, you guys tied the polls, so fuck y'all. You didn't vote for today, so we're doing it tomorrow. We'll do a video tomorrow going over the longer story, because I think that'd be really fun to do. I'm gonna be live on Twitch tonight, doing weird shit. Don't show up. You don't want to see the shit I'm gonna do. It's weird. It's just it's a different vibe over there. Okay, Nosferatu can. They even tie polls here? Yes, they do. Hey, you can't riot! No, I already made the decision! You guys, you tied the poll, someone voted like as I decided. No. We're doing the rest tomorrow. Whoever untied, yes it is, because I'm having an I told you guys to vote like 7 times! No, it is, because I'm mad. This is me getting mad. But, for real. I really needed this today. We will do the last of Alpharius tomorrow. Usually I would do this in one stream, but it is... You did vote? Did you vote last minute, did you? I'll riot. Don't bring the Twitch energy here. My YouTube chat is so nice. My chat is nice to me. Nice to me. My YouTube is nice to me. Don't bring... No. Get those riots out of here. Get those riots out. I'm not going to deal with it. Anyway, we're finishing Alpharius tomorrow. It's going to be completely story time, so get comfy. Yeah, you are, Adam. Get real comfy because we're going to have a real good time. Once again, I would like to thank all of my Patreons who do massively assist me. I forgot to do it here. Who massively assist me. Thank you to my royal patrons. My tier 2, Izzo. My tier 1, Hansel Panda, Suki SJ, Sternly, Dan Cohen, Chaos315, and Matt Ben. Y'all make this sponsor free. But yeah, I'm not a meanie. Y'all are meanies. Anyway, I will see you all tomorrow for a little bit more of the Alpha Legion and a little bit more of Alpharius. I'm proud of you for getting through today. Even more proud of you for getting through tomorrow. Advidasen, Arrivederci, good shudders, Alawego. Peace! See you tomorrow for part 2. Bye!